now we got backup.
Are we further away than normal? Is this the same?
Who knows? Who knows who's been
You're
in
awfully
here?
far away.
I feel like it's normal. I don't know.
All right.
Hey,
Well,
episode 4.
Yeah?
Wow.
Man, good old fashioned. Thank you. Thank you. I had a sip off air.
Today's episode is sponsored by Old Fashions everywhere.
Yep. Here we go.
Yeah, I don't know. There's no brand name to this. It's just love.
There's
just
nothing
love,
to make up.
bourbon, and some secret spices, and it's an old fashioned. So
The last week's sponsor guaranteed another week of me making sure that even if I knew the name of our podcast, I can't share it with anybody. As we're talking about
yeah, the shaft wipes.
Shaft
I
wipes.
can't wait till they become like, you're like, man, shaft wipes are everywhere, and I heard about it first on that podcast.
That's right.
That is yet to be named.
Yeah, that was. You kept it going, so I think at this point, like I think I'm gonna have to start repping shaft wipes. I believe you.
I don't even golf. I'm getting some.
Well, how will you use them?
I hear they have a lot of uses.
Well, that broomstick behind it could use a good wipe.
Oh,
so, yeah,
man,
if we get some shaft
this old
wipes on
thing?
here, yeah. I want to
This
know
whole thing?
that
Has that been here
That's
every
right there.
episode?
I believe
Man.
the fun journey for those joining us on YouTube. And most of our listeners are on wherever you get your podcasts. But for those the few that are joining on YouTube, they get to play a little bit like spot the difference.
That's right.
At
Where's
home.
Waldo?
Something to keep coming back.
By
right?
our final episode, we won't even be here. There will be so much stuff. You know?
Absolutely.
Like
yeah.
the Fraggle Rock trash heap. You remember her?
No. Tell
Remember
me.
Fraggle Rock?
Fraggle Rock. I haven't had the pleasure.
Trash heap.
Trash heap?
Never
What are you
mind.
referencing?
It's an old 80s. You're so young. There's an old 80s TV show called Fraggle Rock.
Yeah.
And one of the characters was Trash Heap. And it was in somebody's backyard, this pile of leaves and trash. It was an old lady. And she'd talk to you.
Oh, it's terrible.
She was one of my favorites, so don't feel
Yeah.
bad for her.
Oh, I hope she's doing all right. Trash heap, Fraggle
Sure she
Rock.
is.
Never heard any of those words. Nobody's ever said those words to me.
Man, no Fraggle Rock in your life, huh?
No Fraggle. No, it's
Cast
good.
the
It's
cares
like,
away.
I love being
Worries
thrown off
for another
as
day.
soon as the mic's on.
Yeah?
That's good. Yeah.
Well,
That's the one decade I just kind of tuned out on the TV.
yeah. You missed some memorable moments. You missed some memorable
well,
moments.
we don't have a sponsor.
Nope.
We can just hop on in, right?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Well, I'd say I was in the hot seat last week. You were asking a whole lot of questions
Bro.
about me that almost
got me.
made me sound interesting. It's not true.
Bro, so interesting. Not only, so this is going to be it. You're going to be running for president one day. And they'll be like, not only did I find out about shaft wipes on that podcast, I was first introduced to our future president on that podcast. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
like, they're going to have
come on.
shaft wipes in one hand.
Could we find what is the
And a ballot
number
in the
that
other.
it would take for us to get a sponsor for shaft wipes?
I think we're there.
Is that? I mean, just
I think you could go to shaftwipes.com and
would
get
we
the
require
shaft wipes.
someone to buy us at least a 6-pack for us to sponsor them? Or are they sponsoring us? How does that work?
Well, they would sponsor us.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We just
I
put
don't
the
know.
shaft wipes here, and every once in a while, we just take a shaft wipe break.
It's just
And
like,
we'd say-
yeah, you're just like, I'm so sorry. Shaft wipes, not only are they good for your golf clubs, but they take the shine off your face. You know? Clean your shoes with them.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be great. We take a shaft wipe
Yeah.
break, do an ad read. I'm in. I say let's reach out to him, see what the number is.
Let's talk to Kevin.
Yeah, let's get us a sponsor.
Well, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm not going to, never say never, man.
Well, we know why everyone's here, and it's not for our banter, as delightful as it is.
They're for the
because-
cool, hot products.
That's
The
right.
beers and the
Well, I
shaft
was going to
wipes.
say they're here for it's your turn on the hot
Oh,
seat.
man, here we go.
Yeah. So off air, part of our conversation
Yeah.
was, oh my gosh, I can't believe the cool stuff you're doing, as if I was some sort of like water slide tester or
Yeah.
something for a career, but I'm just sitting in a cubicle, which currently, as I've been moved around, doesn't even have a window.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
let's get you
feeling
a
it.
window.
I need the window.
We're gonna start a
I need
movement.
the window. Yeah.
Hashtag Joe gets a window.
I think I'm here for it.
Joe
Yeah.
gets a window.
Yeah,
Joe
hashtag
gets
it.
a window.
The power of the internet. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're
Let's
gonna
start
call
that.
Mayor Craig Greenberg and demand a window.
And people were demanding that I had an interview on a podcast last night. Word's getting around.
Really?
I mean, that's gonna be my conversation tomorrow. At
Yeah.
least.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but the conversation we had was around, you know, that sometimes you feel like you don't always get to feel like you're being kind of tempered down your strengths, right? Which is creativity. Everybody who knows
Yep.
you knows your strength is creativity, whether it's video, storytelling, you know, in your everyday life. You're a very creative person, you know.
Well,
so to hear you say,
well,
my life
what
is
do I owe
so ordinary,
Feels very
even
ordinary.
just moments ago,
Yeah. Feels pretty-
was-
still pretty
was
ordinary.
unbelievable for me to hear. And so I maybe I'll get to make the case at some point why that's. But I think maybe this will be therapy. You might come to that conclusion on your own here. So yeah, I don't think you're ordinary at all. So let me hear.
Yeah.
What does creativity mean to you? Or what does ordinary mean to you?
Yeah. Man, those are big words. Gosh, I wish I knew the answer to that. I mean, I guess creativity is just like creating, right? I mean, it could
Yeah.
be anything. It could be you're whistling a new tune, or you're drawing goofy pictures with your kids,
Yeah.
making a play set in the backyard.
Yeah.
Just as long as like you're taking things that are one thing and you're making them into something else,
Right.
you win. You know, you did it.
Right. So ordinary is like the antithesis of creativity to you, right? It's like
Well-
you're looking at something the exact same way every time, and you're using it in the same way.
Well, so it's interesting. So ordinary to me is more just based on repetition.
Yeah.
You know, I think that even being creative could be ordinary,
Right.
and you might not see it as cool anymore. Like if my job was to make cool musicals
Yeah.
for Broadway,
Yeah.
at some point, after doing that every day for, I don't know, maybe even as little as 3 years,
Yeah.
I'm making musicals for Broadway. I don't, but let's say I did.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that becoming just ordinary, a bit of
Sure.
a drudgery kind of a
Sure.
thing, even though it's creativity.
Sure.
So I think there's also just that, gosh, that battle of like coming to creativity and
Sure.
yeah, when it's just an old friend. You
Yeah.
know?
So, I mean, that's something that I struggle with. You know, working office job. I'm a 9 to 5er kind
Okay, man.
of guy.
Come on. Let's
We're
get
doing it. We're holding
Let's
it
get
right here.
9
We're holding it
to 5.
down. Come on. Someone's got to go to work. So how do you inject creativity into a situation like that?
Like work?
Yeah.
Well, I have, so
The repetition, whether it's work itself, whether
Yeah.
it's doing the same routine every single day.
for people who don't know, I make commercials for
Yeah.
local businesses. I work at
Yeah.
the local news station. I do not sell news. I sell Billy Bob's HVAC.
Yeah.
I sell Michael's electrician. I sell lawyers. I sell pressure washers.
Yeah.
I sell local stuff.
Right.
So
Someone comes to you and
Yeah.
they say, I want some ad time on your station. I need a commercial. Sometimes maybe they have an idea, or sometimes they're handing
a
the
lot
reins
of times
to
they
you.
don't. A
Okay.
lot of times evidently they haven't seen any recent commercials. They've only seen commercials from the 90s. Because that's what they're locked in
Like,
on.
I want to do that Fraggle Rock bit.
But it bears to think about, like, at the end of the day, my job, I got to make a win for the client. You know, that's
Yeah.
number one. I got to get their phone ringing.
Yeah.
And it would be easy to be like, oh, you know what? They love bad commercials.
Yeah.
I will phone in. There's even been a couple times I got very frustrated and angry.
Yeah.
Like, I want to make you a good commercial, and you just keep shooting down great ideas, and telling me, no, we want.
Consciously, they just I want
Exactly. They're like,
to
no, no, no,
really
no, no,
lean
no.
into a
Yeah.
low budget commercial.
That's not what I want. That's what they tell me.
No.
That's not all of them. Some of them
Yeah,
love
yeah.
it. That's not what I want.
Yeah.
I want, and then they describe something, and then then I'm just like, great. I can sleep through this. This will be great.
Yeah.
So, but your question back at the beginning was like, how do you inject creativity into even the most boring,
Yeah.
banal,
Yeah.
silly?
Yeah.
Sometimes I just throw lenses on the truck that we haven't ever used.
Yeah.
I just throw it on there. I'm just like, well,
Let's try something different today.
let's put there's a probe lens, which is like for the close-ups for like burgers, or the close-ups for like your perfumes, like the really extreme close-ups.
Yeah.
You never need it. I
Never.
don't even know why we have
No.
it. I throw it on the truck. The worse the production is, the more
willing you
unusual
are
gear
to
I
bust
throw on
out
there.
the Burger King lens.
Like, great, well, we're going to use a probe lens if we can. I don't force myself, but I'm like, as soon as I can see an opportunity, I will pull out the Burger King lens. Or I will throw the drone on. Like, great, well, guess what? You're getting a drone shot. Yeah, everybody loves
They
a drone.
don't do enough burger drone shots.
Well, God, wouldn't that be something if you could fly out?
So big you can see it from space.
So things I've thrown on the truck just to be used
Yeah.
is a probe lens. The drone we use frequently, but I'll throw it on there.
Yeah.
If they're just like ordinary, I'm like, all right, we're
Yep.
taking a drone just in case. We have super slow motion, 240 frames per second.
Yeah.
Let's use it.
Oh yeah.
Let's just see what happens.
Let's just use it. If we have to, we'll speed it up later.
Exactly.
Put it at regular speed.
Exactly. What else?
gosh.
So there's also these white flags that diffuse light. I got black flags, so that
Yeah?
they suck light out. Like usually
can't
you want
work.
somebody to look.
That can't work.
Somebody,
No,
I
it's
have it
not.
on the truck.
Is that how
man.
the world works?
I'm like,
Certain colors just suck things up.
well,
no.
you'd be interested.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, you put a black flag next to somebody's face off camera,
Okay.
and it will create a really hard shadow.
Okay. You're
so-
playing with shadows.
Playing with
Doesn't
shadows,
matter the
that's right.
color, right?
Yeah.
It just needs to not be, it needs to be like opaque or
Yeah.
not, right? Okay.
So yeah, so that's
Okay, that
one
makes
way.
sense.
It's just like sometimes I just throw a tool on that is going to force me to do something unusual.
Sure.
Sometimes it's just that. Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, I mean, because I'm thinking if you're having trouble staying creative at work, then I'm screwed.
Well,
Because I've got nothing. I tell you, I've tried some things. I got into a real repetitive time, about this time last year.
Man.
And my solution to this was,
yeah, what'd you do?
well, I wouldn't recommend this, but I work at the L&N building.
Hard drugs.
There's that would switch it up. That would switch it up. I went for the most low-hanging fruit you could imagine in my
Instagram.
Well, there's no.
You have 100,000 followers for Mr. G or something
Yeah.
like that, some fake name.
Yes. I need that in my life, right? This is the alter ego, the closest I'm going to get to that. The most low-hanging fruit I could imagine, because I've always thought it would be fun if maybe the best way to switch up work is just to commute to work a different way, right?
Ooh, yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah,
my
yeah.
thought, for a while, and I tried different experiments with this, is always commute to work on a different way, right?
Oh, I love it.
Whether it's,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do it every day, but at least if one day a week, one day you're doing a skateboard, one day you're doing a moped, a motorcycle, an Uber, you hitchhike, you get pushed in a
Yeah.
wheelbarrow, you ride, you
Your
do an
work's-
army crawl.
Your work's okay if you show up a little late. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah, right. Sorry, the train dropped me off at. Well, as a matter of fact, there aren't any train stations within 100 miles.
What do you know-
That
what do you
didn't
know about
work.
train
Don't worry,
hopping?
that did not work.
Okay.
It did not work. So
That is a federal offense, so I just want to.
yeah. Well, but oddly enough, that was one I was able to get in. I was able to
Ooh.
commute on a train.
Yeah,
It worked.
okay.
Different time, it'd be a story for a different day. But the
Yeah.
low-hanging fruit was I'll just park in a different parking spot every day.
That is low hanging.
That's low-hanging fruit,
Bro.
right? It's not
Even
the same.
for fruit.
as-
There's low hanging fruit. That's looking at
it's
that,
not
like,
even, it's on
I'm
the
not
ground
sure.
rotting.
Yeah.
It's on the ground
I
rotting.
wouldn't even call you fruit.
There's more than 500 parking spots to choose from. I'm not kidding. I spent maybe 20 hours
Now, how do you
making
make-
a map of my
Oh,
parking
I was going to
lot.
say, how did you make sure
Yeah.
that you didn't repeat?
Yeah.
You had a map. You're
Yeah, I
marking
had a
them off.
map. I had a map that I really wanted to be able to quickly fill in different boxes, and so I printed. I made the map on Photoshop. I overlaid
Yeah.
it with a Google satellite image, and I've parked in almost 300 parking spots. at
Was there
work.
ever a moment that, of course, you're there with other people? Was there a day that you
Sure.
had to repeat because the last few
Yeah.
open parking spots
Yeah.
were taken?
Yeah, I've had repeats for sure.
Okay.
I've definitely had some
All right.
repeats. I hate those days. The thing
The
is,
purity
about-
of this low-hanging fruit was already in question, and now
Well,
there is no purity.
the whole
to
thing
it.
went out the window on one fateful day when I got an email that said they were repaving the parking lots.
Oh no!
None of the spots lined up about 6 months into my project.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
So,
So,
now you had to start all over.
yeah, I did. I gave up. Yeah, I gave up. So that was
Good for you, man.
actually, and it's fun to talk about, but it actually injected no creativity into my day.
Interesting.
It did not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't do it for me. The only time it led to creativity is when I had to find my way into one of like the coveted like parking spots that you're not allowed in.
Ooh.
That was the only time.
Okay, yeah.
That
so
was
a little
once
bit
in a
of,
blue moon. It was like I got a few handicap
danger.
spots when it was like I'm
Ooh.
coming in on 4th of July or something
Yeah,
and no one's
yeah.
here, you know?
You're like, all right, there's 6 handicap spots.
Yeah.
I'll check at lunch and make sure they're not all filled.
Well, if you find the right day, it was like, let me just park
You
in all 4 corners.
Yeah. You pulled in sideways into the
Yeah.
handicap spot.
Yeah.
Took up 3.
Rode my bike one day and locked it to the actual handicap sign.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
and it was just kind of back tire was barely sticking into it. Someone could still park there.
Yeah.
It's like that counts.
Yeah.
That counted for me.
Yeah. Love
So
it.
I've tried little projects like that. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Have you found anything like that? Is there anything, even if it's just sitting in a different spot when you go to that conference room meeting? Like I'm not going to sit in the same spot as everybody else because everybody else in the same spot that they were last week and the week before and the week before. Let me try something new.
I think for me, when I feel the routine rumbles, I try and look around and get inspiration from
Sure.
people that are around me.
Yeah.
I think that just like what we're talking about here, you live in your own skin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you just feel so ordinary, right?
Yeah.
But to an outsider, you seem maybe extraordinary.
Yeah.
And so I actually look at like my coworkers and try and kind of find out what's extraordinary about them that maybe they don't understand.
Yeah.
And then I try and create an environment or a moment where that's called to bear. I don't have any concrete examples, but I'm always trying to think of, well, here's an example too. So it's not just being creative in work, it's also being creative out of work, right?
Yep.
And I used to do film stuff, and I was like, it's me, I'm writing this, we're going to do great, join my vision. But I've realized that it is a lot better, more joyful, for me to see like the raw talent, the raw resources that are around, and then try and connect the dots, right? So I think that that's the magic. I felt like as a young man, creativity was creating something out of nothing,
Yeah.
which is exhausting.
Yeah. That's good.
It's a little awkward because it's just very exhausting. But as an older man, I don't have the time to sit there and wait for nothing to turn into something. But I can. I'm really good at connecting dots, you know? So, for example, one dot is I want to do this community theater. There's a great Finnish carpenter, Clayton Cooney, who told me one day that he wanted to be an actor over a fireside chat, right? I'm like, well, that's a serious dot. Not every day does a Finnish carpenter say, I want to be an actor, you know? Connect that dot. Then I'm talking to Curtis, you know, who's a general contractor, GC,
Yeah.
big salt of the earth
Yep.
dude.
Yep.
Looks like he just got off of a fishing boat in Maine.
He might have done that. I
you
know
know?
Curtis. He's done some
He's
things.
done- he's
if
done a
you
lot.
asked him if he's done it more than half the time, it's yes.
So he told me one time that he had wanted to be an actor when he was growing up.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, well, there's two dots I have to connect. Because
Yeah.
if you know Clayton and Curtis,
Yeah.
They're the yin and yang.
Yeah.
One is like books and
Yes.
smart
Yes.
and conservative. Lately, just like there's so much happening inside, and then the other one is this burly, salt of the earth kind of dude.
Yeah.
And then I just started thinking, like, well, what play would I see them opposites on? And then I came up with one.
Yeah.
And then I sealed the deal.
Yeah, you
Clayton's
got him?
in, Curtis is in.
Yes.
So I think that we're gonna do a bit of it at the Fall Festival in October.
Yeah.
And just see if we can get through
Yeah.
a scene. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Then hopefully that'll be like whoo, that we did
Yeah.
it, and then we'll move on and hopefully do the whole thing in
Sure.
November or something like that.
Sure.
And
Yes.
the value of, I used to be really bent on it has to be perfect. And now it's like, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to be. It needs to have legs that it can stand on.
Right.
Because even horrible, I'll take a little rabbit trail here, like Ray Gun, who's the break dancer that everybody made fun of at the Olympics.
Oh, right. Yeah.
There was a movie made about him, but there was Eddie the Eagle out of the UK, who in the early 90s was the long distance skier from the UK.
Okay.
And he only went like half as far as the other Olympians, right?
Okay.
He was not, let's say, international Olympic
Sure.
material,
Sure.
but by golly, he was the best
That's
the
right.
UK had.
That's right.
And there was people that got behind him just like, at least we have somebody.
Yeah.
And it's a sad story of that. They ended up, he did his thing because he qualified, because
Okay.
he qualified because he was the best of his country.
Sure.
He even qualified at the bare minimum
Okay.
of what you have to do to get into the Olympics.
Okay.
And then he did it, and then it was a similar experience to Ray Gun, where people were just like embarrassed, they were angry, they were judgmental.
Yeah.
These days, gosh, I tried to find a video of Ray Gun to show my wife because I thought, oh man, this was very funny.
Yeah.
It was impossible to find a video of Ray Gun because it was so, there was such a glut of
Yep.
critics.
Yep.
Like, when
There's
I
no
tell
genuine
you,
video. Everything was commentary.
when I tell you that there was like hundreds of commentary videos that buried the actual just video, like
Yeah.
draw your own conclusions, did not exist. It was just commentary videos, and it just made me so sad. I
Yeah,
thought,
it is. It is.
man, if we're just like a generation of critics, like I don't want to live here. You know what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
you do see the magic in people better than almost anybody I know.
Oh, well, thank
I
you.
mean, and that is people. That is I mean, not even just people, really. I mean, I for several years have lived next to an abandoned house. It's falling over, and
Yeah.
God love it. you
yeah,
know.
prime real estate. bro.
It's kind of beloved to me in some ways.
Yeah.
Like if it ever falls down for good, like I'd be sad to see it go. But it's never been
It
much.
catches the wind.
That's right. Yeah. Well, it's
It's
just.
a strong wind coming.
It's right. It's there. It's become a spot where it's got a front porch and I don't. So if I'm going to hang out on a front porch, I end up finding myself under the abandoned house next door.
Yeah, we can use that.
That's right. And we have. I think we've had a few cigars.
Yeah, we
over there or
have.
something.
Yeah.
And then next to that is a lot, and then there's another abandoned house, and I don't really think about these things,
Yeah.
all that much. But just to wake up even just a few months ago, and I'm hearing, of mowers, and I'm hearing weed whackers, and it's like, that's odd because that's coming from the wrong direction. And just to look out my window and I see you're taking care of the space, and you're transforming it even before you've even told anybody your idea. You're just kind of out there, you're just kind of working the lot with chainsaws, and you've honestly transformed this spot, one of the worst spots on the block, kind of a destination point.
It was
It's
a horrible spot.
destination. I mean, I didn't go
There's
there for
history
bad
in that
memories.
spot.
Too much to get into on this block, but there was
There's
some
a lot-
bad
there's
memories
a lot of bad blood there.
for me on that lot. Right? There's some bad things that happened there.
You made it through. You're safe.
Yeah.
But it was touch and go.
Yeah, it was touch and go there for a minute, but it's been redeemed. You really transformed that single-handedly. You didn't have a lot of people in your camp like, hey, we're gonna do this. You just did it.
Yeah.
And you built the stage, and you worked with Clayton on that, and you put on
Clayton
a
built the
show which you
stage,
emceed, and you had some of the kids MC,
Yeah.
and you made that happen, and it was
Yeah.
so life-giving to people on the
good.
street. And so
Yeah.
that is one example that if you're not going to bring it up, I will. It
Yeah,
is now
yeah,
known as
yeah.
the Portland Performing Arts Center. And so we got
Yeah.
the P-PAC
Yeah.
down there. And no, it's become a destination point. I mean, I've seen people, sometimes I'll walk outside and I'll trip over extension cord, and I'm like, well, who's using it? And I look over there, and people are just hanging out.
Well, it should be said that part of the PPAC
Yeah.
magic is that anybody can use it whenever,
Yep.
and you volunteered electricity. Now, granted, it's
Yeah.
LEDs,
Yeah.
but
I
like
can swing it.
it should be said for those
That is
watching
the
out
only
there.
thing I contributed to the space. It's
So-
the 15 cents a month that's going to cost
Yeah,
me.
we put the vibe out. Like, if anybody wants to use this space, you just Joe said it's okay. You just plug it in to your outlet out the front door.
Yeah.
And boom, you got lights. You got a stage.
Yeah. And nothing makes me happier to see people back there, really.
And I should say, like, also the stage, like, for anybody who's listening or whatever, is that, like, the stage is just like a palette stage.
Oh, it's beautiful.
There's like, I think that in the past I have overthought things, overplanned things.
Sure.
To where maybe I got it done, but at the sacrifice of like 2 or 3 other things that could have gotten done.
Yeah.
So instead of doing 4 things that were like, hey, that's important.
Right.
I did one thing crazy good. I gave surgery to this thing. It's like neuroscience. And then,
it couldn't have been. It really. I mean, it couldn't have been any better. I mean, I've seen you on both ends of that pendulum, right?
Yeah.
The Portland Art Camp was phenomenal. Every detail was perfect.
Yeah.
And that was another time where you just saw a need for something.
Yeah.
And maybe it was the same idea that you had maybe with this, right? This is happening because you had an idea. This podcast right now, right? But so the art camp.
Yeah.
Maybe you felt like, hey, I'm consuming a lot of art. I'm not making a lot of art.
Yeah.
Let's, the art tree.
Well, so I was working in I was working for a painter company at that time.
Okay.
So I was just like painting apartments. I was doing some plasters.
Yeah.
And I just needed something to juice me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is why the Portland Art Camp happened. Was like,
sure.
I just needed some happiness in my life, to be honest. Like, it was it was kind of like the parking lot era for you. Was like, that was my parking lot era.
This was not low-hanging fruit.
This
was a monster. This was a monster.
Maybe low-hanging fruit could not have gotten me out of this very kind of dark despair kind of area.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, well, why don't I, because I can take time off. I don't get paid for it. It's back when you're working for somebody who's keeping you at a 1099 miscellaneous income, even though you're working for them like 40 hours a week for 2 to 3 years. All that to say is, like, there was like a moment where I was like, man, I gotta, if the happiness doesn't come to me, I gotta create the happiness. Here's a great example of, like, when I was a young man, I just felt so lonely. Man, I felt lonely. Like, nobody was like,
no.
I did.
Tim, no.
I did. It's
Can't
okay.
be. Sorry, I said this could be therapy.
We got through it, but
get it out.
I don't know. I think it's a universal experience to feel like, man, nobody sees me. Whew. You give them one of these fist pumps, like, nobody sees me. Nobody knows.
Yep.
Nobody knows what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Man, if
those
people
thoughts
knew.
compound too.
Yeah,
you start testing people.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's not going to see me. Oh, he doesn't see me. I didn't say anything. Of course he didn't see me. He's looking right through me.
Exactly
I'm mad at the
right.
world. He doesn't want to talk to me.
But I had this epiphany. I was like, wait a minute. If I'm feeling this way, 9 times out of 10, somebody else is feeling exactly the same way. So now imagine a room that you walk into, like, nobody sees me, and it's filled with people that are saying nobody sees me.
Yeah.
And all it takes is, like, for one person to be like, hey, I see you. And they're like, I see you? You see me? We see each other? They're like, hey, this guy saw me. And then this guy's like, well, you saw me? Yeah, I saw you. So whenever I would get into a very low mental state, I would just find somebody randomly that was near and dear to my heart, but I would randomly needle drop in and just say life-giving things to them. Like, as if they were as lonely as I felt.
Yeah.
I would just pop into their life and be like, hey, I just want you to know that this one guy in particular, I mean, there were several people. It's like, I just want you to know that I really appreciate the way you take care of your family. I see you. I see what you're doing for them. I see all the hustle you've been doing. Also, you're a good friend. Fireside chats are amazing, you know, and they, you don't tell them why you do it.
Sure.
You just say, like,
Sure.
like a secret
You don't
shopper.
say, like, you look like the loneliest guy in this room.
No, you don't say, like, I'm so lonely, I'm speaking into your life. That's
Sure.
what you don't say.
Sure.
This is how lonely I am. I'm speaking into
I'm
your
so
life.
lonely, I want to live in your subconscious. Can we merch it? Let's merch that.
And man,
That's right.
I will. I mean, if anybody tries it, I guarantee they will not speak back into your life. They're just so surprised.
Sure.
And that muscle is so atrophied.
You weren't looking for that, I'm sure.
No, I wasn't. But that muscle is so atrophied, and I think of most of us, and that we're just moving through life. We're trying to check things off the list, so they'll just take it, and it'll be a magic moment for them.
Yeah.
And then you do it for somebody else. It's like, hey, I just want you to know, blah 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 blah. You know, whatever it is. You know, even there's been times where I would just text somebody. I would scroll through my texts.
Yeah.
And it was always candid and honest and true.
Yeah.
It's just the impetus to do it was forced. You know, like,
Sure.
I feel lonely
Sure.
right now.
Yeah.
So let me find somebody in my text messages, and it might be somebody from high school that I got together for a drink with like 10 years ago or whatever.
Right.
And then I reach out and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want you to know, like, that was a very special conversation. Or anyways, all that to say is, like, sometimes I've found that if there's something I feel like I need, I can't get it for myself. So what if I gave it to somebody else? Because our problem, my dad told me a story about, like, a picture of hell is, and it stuck with me, a picture of hell is everybody is starving and they're sitting around a pot of delicious soup. But the problem is that, have you heard this one before?
No, never.
So the problem is that they're sitting around with these spoons, and the spoons are 6 feet long. 6 foot long spoons.
Okay.
So every time they go in and they stand back to get the pot, they can't get it in their mouths, man.
Work together, people.
You know, they're
Work
like,
together.
you go in, and by the time it actually, like, it's spilled everywhere, soup just everywhere. You know, they just keep trying, they can't get it. Exactly what you said. So then a picture of heaven is there's a pot of soup, and people are around it. And they've got these 6 foot long spoons.
Yeah.
But they're feeding each other.
They can reach across the pot.
Yeah, just this thing, that thing. So creativity for me, sometimes it's just like, man, I feel super hungry. Let me take my 6 foot spoon and feed somebody else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
that's
hope
good.
that either it passes or somebody's like, hey, you know what? Like, I got a 6 foot spoon with soup on it for you, boy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I think, honestly, going back to creativity, like, it does take intentionality sometimes, right? I think there's, you do create things. You're a videographer and filmmaker, and I've seen some of your shorts, and, like, you know, I think there's, like, a perception that, it's just a switch that's on for them all the time. Yeah. You know, work, go home, all that, it's just on. And that's just not sustainable.
It's a myth. It's a myth. I think that the advantage is that creative people are willing to be bad.
Sure.
Like, it's literally, it's not a switch, like, you're giving it.
I love that.
It's like, you're just willing to suck for a while. Longer than other people are. Some people won't suck for a second.
Sure.
Not for a second.
Sure.
And creatives will suck sometimes for a lifetime.
Right. That's
you know?
Right.
So I think that's actually,
So be willing to put yourself out there and suck.
Yeah.
Right. Be curious. You know,
Yeah,
take
so
that probe lens. Right. Never tried
Man,
this.
I love it. Yeah.
You know, relationships. Right. I feel like you're the kind of guy, you probably know every single person in your office, or you've talked to them. They might not look up. But you talk to them. Am I accurate on that?
Yeah, most everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's good. That's good. And then if there's another one, it's really being willing to see things differently, to transform things, to use things in different ways you haven't used them before.
Yeah, I think I've said it before on this podcast. Kurt Vonnegut's, like, amateur art is a high form of art. That Rembrandt wasn't trying to make paintings that lasted, you know, what was that, 1600s? 400 years. He wasn't trying to make a 400-year-old Rembrandt.
Yeah.
I mean, one of his etchings is, I think it's the prodigal son, but there's a dog taking a poop in the background. Like,
Was Rembrandt also in the 80s? I haven't seen that one.
oh, well, I just mean, like, I think that we did a disservice when we started calling artists prophets.
Sure.
Like, define our age, our era. That's not fair.
Yeah.
When we started saying, make something that lasts for generations.
Yeah.
Like, that hasn't always been the case. There was a time when just artists made art.
Yep.
And it was the thing. And so I think that amateur art is like a vestige of a better time when people just didn't have a TV maybe. So they just did stuff, you know?
They just did stuff.
They just did stuff. They had maybe they had a little band with their neighbors. Maybe they whittled. Maybe they made little wooden toys for their kids. Maybe they, I don't know, planted exotic flowers. I don't know what they did, you know?
Yeah. But they did stuff.
They did stuff. And they didn't worry, is it going to be around forever? And I actually love things that aren't meant to be around forever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big dweeb, and I got into ukiyo-e, which is like,
I don't know.
it's just Japanese art.
POA?
Ukiyo-e.
Oh.
So it's art from the Forbidden
Is that
City.
hentai stuff?
No, it's like 1800s poster art from Japan.
I feel like that was offensive. We gotta edit that out.
Man,
What is hentai? I'm sorry.
I don't
This
know
is
what
your-
hentai is, man.
I don't know what that is either. Hentai? People talk about it. But it's always in like hushed tones.
Somebody's gonna email us. I just know it.
Email us at, what's our email?
Email at madeupemail@gmail.com.
Perfect.
Which I know somebody has that email address, but
Yeah, well, and they'll learn something about hentai.
but these.
Sorry. All
Oh,
right.
you're good.
Yeah.
Just there's a
Bring it back.
magic in ukiyo-e is like Japanese woodblock prints,
Okay.
and it's just meant to be for a day. You're just meant to love it for a
Yeah.
day. You're supposed to look at it, go into the theater, and then throw it away on their way out.
Oh, wow.
And like, there's so much magic in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, no, I think that's similar to like what you mentioned is like you can try to do something perfect and you can take 4 times the energy, or you can build a stage out of pallets and it won't matter because the true magic was everybody coming together and seeing people that I hadn't seen in forever, and somebody having the guts to go up there and say my talent is I never lose at rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
And they're right.
Yeah.
And somebody else goes up and they sing opera, and maybe somebody cries, and the entire street is dead quiet because it was so moving. Like,
that's true.
and throughout all of it, there's kids climbing over shipping containers and swinging from the trees and playing in a giant hole that was dug in the ground, and it's all happening at the same time. And it was a beautiful thing. So, yeah, I think you're right about that. You know, it's more important that we do things.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And the truth is like, if you need some help, most people want to do something cool, you know? They want to take a chance.
Yeah.
Most people do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, the battle's half won. We're not alone. There's so many people in everybody's community.
There are people who instantly have fun when they try something new, and there are people who have fun later recounting that they tried something
Man,
new.
there
But
it is.
Nobody
There
regrets.
it is. That's
trying
100% right there.
That's 100%. There might be one. There might be one person. Feel bad for that guy.
And they'll get it eventually.
Yeah.
Even
Email
that-
us.
even that one
Tell us
person will
what's
get it.
Tell us what's going on.
Like, man, I'm that one person, and I get it now. Yeah. Yeah, they'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out. All right. Well, hey, anything else that you want to share about creativity? Close us out here. This has been.
Yeah. All right. What book are we reading today?
Oh, what is most fitting?
Ooh, Lewis and Clark Through Indian Eyes?
Oh,
That sounds
I haven't heard that
fascinating.
perspective.
Yeah. All right.
they're
so
like,
this
we didn't
is,
want the Louisiana Purchase. Take it.
It wasn't yours to sell. Lewis, Lewis and Clark through Indian Eyes, 9 Indian writers on the legacy of the expedition. All right, a remarkable book gives both the event and the era a fresh perspective. Edited by Alvin M. Josephy Jr.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Well, I should also say the essays are by N. Scott Momaday, Vine Deloria
Wow.
Jr. Oh, Jr. Okay.
Is that a name?
Yeah, Custer Died for Your Sins was a hot book in the 70s, man. I think it was the 70s.
Missed that decade. You were not around in the
wasn't
70s.
around. No, I did
Tim.
read the
All
book, though.
But you're an old soul, you know.
Deborah Magpie Erling, Mark N. Trahant, Gerard, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering these names, Gerard A. Baker, Roberta and Richard Bosch, Roberta Connor, Alan V. Pinkham Sr., and Bill P. Yellowtail. I just get upset when, like, the editor, not even the guy who wrote anything, but the editor gets the front billing, and the people that actually made the content.
Oh,
That's why I had to
really?
read those names, because I was like,
Thank
what did
you.
the edited by? He was like, he's the guy that was like, yes and no. So unless Alvin, maybe Mr. Josephy Jr., you did more.
All right.
But
well,
to me,
if there's anything we don't like in here, that's on Alvin.
yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah. All right, that's it. All right. Let's see.
Looks dense.
Okay, how about this? This is from her chapter, What We See. This is Deborah Magpie Erling. Imagine one day a great wind chases. You should read this. Actually, you should find it.
I couldn't.
No?
I couldn't. No. This
You
is
can't
totally
read?
you. This is totally. I can't.
Like,
I didn't
no,
want
literally.
to say on camera,
Literally, I
but
can't.
I can't read. And I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up here.
It has no
And-
pictures.
No pictures.
Come on to you. All
Yeah,
right.
let me know. I will always describe pictures for the camera, but yeah.
Well, I
This
think
is all
anything
you.
that starts with imagine one day is probably pretty good. Imagine one day a great wind chases the ghosts of clouds from the sky. Light slants on the river to lift a brutal shimmering spirit of water. And just above the shadowed green currents, where the white gnats are furiously circling, a smell is rising that catches in you like sorrow. In the fields, the deer are still, not even their tails are twitching. No draught from the river cools you, and you stand alone. The day holds the promise of winter kill. Huckleberries, black and round in the mountains, berries so ripe if the wind stirred, you would smell the tar of their scent. In the low fields, bears swat the choke cherries from the branches. In this still hour, the earth is offering blessings. I think that's kind of special. You know what I'm saying?
That was, yeah. Wow. That was a little bit more moving than I anticipated.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Well, I don't know how to close this out any better than that right there. So
Well, interesting.
we're out of here.
Man. All
We're
right.
outta here.
Well,
Over and out.
Smash the like button. Subscribe.
To what?
Anything.
To what?
Subscribe to anything in your life. Just subscribe.
I'm starting to feel like Amelia here, where she's.
Does she say that? Daddy, what are we doing here?
Yeah. No.
What are we doing here, Daddy?
Yeah. It's just. I just feel like I'm playing pretend.